Good morning. My name is Ann Kershaw. I'm the founder of Reasonable Discovery, and I'd like to talk to in-house counsel about a new industry model for e-discovery, a new model that is perhaps more useful than the traditional electronic discovery reference model, the EDRM. We're calling this new model the In Situ model. In situ is Latin for in place, meaning that all of the activities necessary to complete an e-discovery process are taking place within the firewall of the company where the documents were created or synced to or imported. By doing everything in place, it reduces cost and risk because of the outside processing issues associated with the traditional model of taking the documents out of the environment and moving it through from vendor to vendor. So this is a game changer for e-discovery. It brings down the cost and the risk of e-discovery so dramatically that perhaps now organizations can fight rather than settle lawsuits that have no merit. A quick note about some of the limitations of the EDRM in light of this new model for doing e-discovery. The EDRM, as I mentioned, has cost and risks from the various handoffs. Every time the data is moved and touched, there's a cost and a risk. In the EDRM model, because you have to take the data out of the environment, you would over-collect. Lawyers would need to take more than they otherwise would have had to take because the in case, just in case they missed something, or when they went to iterate, they could only iterate, meaning read and go back and look at what they've got to see if they need more. They could only do that with what they collected and took out. So they took out more than they needed to. So what do I mean about iterating in document review? I mean that you start with what you know, a core body of relevant information, documents, names, dates, facts. You then search. And when in that search, you read what you retrieve, and you may see, oh, there's another person involved, or a to from a third person. Well, then you could go to that person's email. You can use the theme clustering to identify additional emails on the same topic, identify further people, look at the email threads, and through this process of connecting the dots, if you will, and gathering more relevant from what you know, you end up with a population of what you need to have, and you end up having the knowledge from the document. And this is possible in an in situ environment. In the old EDRM environment, because you could only iterate with what you took, if you found in that process that there was something else you needed that you didn't collect in the first instance, it's a problem. It's expensive and you have to go back, and that's why people over collect in the EDRM model, whereas in the in situ model that we're introducing here, those problems are eliminated. In the EDRM, information governance was sort of an afterthought. It was added after the model and as something separate from e-discovery. In the new model, the information governance is part and parcel of the e-discovery happening within the environment. To learn more specifics about some of the limitations with the EDRM and the current technical environment, take a look at my LinkedIn article. Now, the in situ model, the new model that I'm talking about, there are no handoffs. You can fully iterate within the environment. You can learn what you have, see what you need more of. You can see what you might have looked at that you didn't need and not take it. And the information governance structure is an assist. It helps in knowing what it is truly you need to put on hold or move forward in the process for further analysis.
As you can see, there's 4 primary areas: the managed content, the custodians, day-to-day functions, and then there's the e-discovery tools. Okay, managed content. We are all familiar that there's documents and there's email and there's IM. Now we have other things going on such as Teams and Slack. But I've put the principal ones here with an icon for the databases because I want to remind folks that often these days particularly, much of the information that we need for litigation is actually in a database and can be retrieved by an export or some other analysis of what's in the database, because databases are incredibly flexible and often now house documents as well as messaging. And because, their databases, they're all driven by, either a client identifier or something that is the main hook so that people using the database can find what they want, which of course makes it easier for us lawyers trying to work on e-discovery to find what we may need in a database. Also, we've got the icons showing uploading, downloading, syncing. It's a reminder that this managed content is an active environment. It's a lot going on, and things are coming out and going in, and also things from the outside can be added. And the synchronization piece is very important to e-discovery. I think that everyone working at a corporation that has a laptop knows that these days that it's important that your laptop is synchronized to the, now we used to call them main servers, but now of course it's this IT cloud environment. And that's important because if the laptop is lost or crashes or something, that person knows that everything that they need has been saved and backed up in the corporate IT environment. And so if you know that things have been synced and you have comfort with that, you know that you don't need to go, in addition to collecting the documents and the email from the in situ process and environment, you don't need to go separately take the laptop or copy.
The second portion of the new in situ model is the custodians. I've seen that in e-discovery processes, often the people doing the work sometimes think it's like an archaeological dig, and that the people who know about the artifacts they're looking at are no longer around. But in most cases, the people are there, and the people are valuable sources of information in terms of what they call their documents, what might be the acronyms or the words that they use to describe things, where these documents are stored. And because we now have the ability to have virtual meetings with screen sharing, you can have a meeting with a custodian and look at their computing environment and see how they work and look at how they're moving forward with their documents, identify key documents, and also identify other data sources. We also indicate on the model the day-to-day operations. These are active environments. Users create, import, export, delete. Content is OCR'd and made searchable and indexed as it is created, as it is saved, as it is stored. And the automated retention and disposition activities that are going on in the environment, that is all part and parcel of what the lawyers, people looking at to collect, can take into account when they're moving forward with preservation issues and collection issues. Now, the majority of the in situ e-discovery tools are indicated here. It shows all of the processes that are available, but significantly, what's important to know is that when you issue the legal hold within the environment, and the legal hold can be issued by custodian, by document type, by document source, but when that happens, it kicks off within the system a deep indexing and a deep OCR activity to make sure all of the content is available for search and analysis. The in situ model also provides for deduplication. We have the identification of exact duplicates, and then also the identification of near duplicates, almost exact. But again, the identification of exact duplicates obviously reduces the volume, and the source of these duplicates is retained, so that can always be investigated if necessary. And identifying near duplicates, of course, allows more efficient understanding of what the documents are and what documents to move forward, since you can see, for example, if you have a contract, all of the prior drafts, and you can quickly gather them into one place. The in situ model also provides for email threading and domain analysis. Email threading, of course, is important when you have long email conversations with lots of back and forth and forwards. It's really inefficient for people trying to read and understand these documents to have to read over and over again an earlier email that is repeated in subsequent threads. So by threading and gathering all elements of an email conversation together, it allows you to quickly go to the last email and work your way back in reading so that you eliminate that redundant and expensive reading. Domain analytics is terrific in terms of finding conversations between parties. So you've got a lawsuit involving an external party, you know what their domain name is, you can very quickly find all of the emails between your client and the adversary just by identifying the domains and the tos and the froms. The In Situ model also provides the capabilities for social network analysis. Who's been talking to whom and when and about what, and to be able to do that in a very efficient way. An additional feature of the In Situ model is theme clustering, identifying word patterns. You can identify and test keywords. You can do hit reports. You can understand what words and searches are gathering or identifying false positives, irrelevant documents. And of course, the In Situ model provides a log, a record of all of these activities. So if anyone ever asks, you've got an ability to quickly remember what was done, why it was done, and explain it. And then, of course, there's predictive coding, which allows you to, again, in place, in the environment, when you have identified documents that are important, that will need to be moved forward in the process, you can, using the algorithms, have the system identify other documents that are similar in topic or subject matter. And finally, the In Situ model also has an export capability for creating load files so that the documents that it's decided will move forward in the case can then be exported and uploaded into an external system at a law firm, say, or into some other database for e-discovery for people to look at. So you can see the In Situ model for e-discovery can do all of the functions necessary for e-discovery in small and mid-sized cases. As best I can tell, Microsoft's Enterprise Office 365 is offering the most robust capabilities for doing this sort of In Situ model for e-discovery. And I think that in-house counsel needs to know about it. You're probably paying for it anyway if you're using Office 365. And so I wrote the LinkedIn article, and I'm doing this YouTube video to get the word out. And I would love your feedback. Thanks for listening. And please come visit us on LinkedIn at Reasonable Discovery, and also our website, reasonablediscovery.com. Thank you.